Hi, I'm Hallie, and today I'm going to be walking you through our story of how we purchased our first home. So, we didn't really have a plan to move where we were moving. It's a pretty small town, and there's really low inventory available when you're buying a house. So, we were on Zillow, like we always are, just kind of perusing houses, and we found one we liked. So, that was when we called, not knowing what the process was, and said, we want to come see this place. We were there the next day to see the house. On the spot, we told the realtor that we wanted to purchase it, and they told us, great, you need to go get pre-approved for a loan, which might take a few days. And there's also kind of a bidding war. This was in 2021 when everything was kind of going crazy with house buying. So we called the local bank to see if we could get a loan. They said it would be a week to get us approved. So we moved on and called Chase, who was our bank at the time, and they said that it would take less than 24 hours. They could get us approved if we filled out the paperwork. So we filled out the paperwork, we were approved, contacted the realtor with our offer. We went back and forth for about 2 to 3 days with offers ranging, and the house did have some furniture available, so we needed to write that into the contract. So after about 3 or 4 back and forths, we agreed to, I think it was about 10% lower than the price. So we agreed on the price, and at that point, we had a closing date that was 3 weeks later. We were trying to close as fast as we could. We were kind of semi-homeless at the time, living with my family, and needed just a place to go. We had already sold all of our stuff, so we didn't have any storage aside from what we were holding at my mom's house in her basement, which is about 4 hours away from where we are now. And so we were living there, living between some family in the area, and it was just kind of a transient time as we closed on the home. We had a really different experience because we did semi-know the people we were buying the house from. They were an elderly couple that was moving out in the area, and we were working with their son, who was the one who was power of attorney selling the home. So we were able to negotiate a little bit more as far as what we could take from the home, and we were also trying to close as quickly as we could since they'd be out within the week when we started to close, or when we started to purchase it. So we were able to get in at our closing date, which we ended up closing a week later. I think that's just how things play out. There was a few holidays and just some, I believe the appraiser part where they have to come out and tell you the value of the home and tell the bank the value of the home. She was delayed in the area, so that was kind of what was our holdup, was she was a week later than she thought she would be, and then there was a week of her writing her report to pass it. So that was our big delay that caused it to be a week out, which I know is pretty good considering what it could have been. And we had the inspector come out immediately, did the inspection, which was, I think, a requirement, and we denied a few of the tests just because we knew that we'd have to do those things anyway if they went wrong. But we got a loan. We did a 15-year fix because we knew that we were going to be paying it off as fast as possible. I think it took us 9 months to pay off the home. We had been saving for this, so we put 25% down. We knew this was something we were going to be purchasing. We also purchased a home that was significantly less than we were able to afford. This was kind of our plan all along, so that we could do renovations, kind of use it as a project. Maybe we didn't know what we wanted to do after that fact. So we did pay it off within 9 months. We put all of our money, everything at the house, and it was a great experience, and it's a really nice thing to live in a paid off house. So we did get all the appliances with the house, which we thought was a great deal, and then come to find out a lot of them were 30, 40, some 75 years old. We have a 75-year-old oven, which actually still works great, but the rest of them we had to replace within moving in probably a few weeks. They either weren't working or were so slow and on-off working that it was just worth it to get a new one. That was fridge, that was stove, that was washer dryer. A lot of issues came up right when we moved in, and we also had to put in a fence. So that's one thing I would say is if you're planning on moving in, even if the amount that you put down is significant, make sure you have a bit extra for any little projects or things that slip through the cracks. Another thing I would say is have a little extra because our appraiser priced it a little bit lower than they thought it would be priced at the bank, so you had to cover that cost difference, which was a few $1,000s. But if you're not prepared for that, that could be significant. We also didn't think to have them clean the carpets and include that in the contract, or to even say they needed to professionally clean the house. So that was something that came down on us when we moved in. We, once again, a couple $100, $1,000, it all adds up, but be prepared for these things to arise unless you include them and budget them ahead of time. I would also be a little bit more skeptical on buying other people's furniture for the house. We were kind of desperate because we didn't have any, and when it came down to buying furniture and having it delivered, we had everything set to be delivered on our closing date and hadn't thought about it being pushed back at the last minute. So that was something where we were able, because we knew the couple, to get everything in here even though we didn't live here. But I know that's not a normal situation for most house buying. So really know that it could be a week or two delay from when you actually are supposed to close versus closing. If you're going to be scheduling things and trying to get movers in here, it's definitely something you need to keep in mind. Overall, would I buy or would we rent again? I, in certain situations, would buy, and in certain situations I would rent. Things with buying a house, there are a lot more costs. You are responsible for things like cutting the trees, and anything that goes wrong you are entirely responsible for, which is good for some people, but I think in other situations or higher priced markets, I would probably rent, especially in places that I would say you don't have that much growth potential on your investment. So I don't think buying a house the way it's sold to our generation is as lucrative as it can be. I know that for many people it is beneficial, but there are a lot more costs than people talk about, and it's something that I didn't know until we got into this experience. But best of luck, and you, if you're buying your first house or your second or whatever, if you're choosing not to buy a house, this is just our story and how things played out for us. But I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.